What's up guys, welcome back. Please buckle up, this is gonna be a crazy video. Here's the situation. So Ross Draws, who happened to be one of my biggest inspirations when I first started out, is now getting cancelled for using AI in his work, as well as not wanting to pay his employees. We are so cooked, boys. Now to be honest with you guys, even though I never go outside, I'm actually not as chronically online as you guys think. So this issue would have probably flown under my radar if it weren't for a couple of you guys commenting on my last video, saying stuff to me like, why are you staying silent on these allegations? And why would I listen to an artist who uses AI in their work? First of all, that's offensive. Second of all, what did I do? Bro, could you imagine how confused I was? So I thought, okay, you guys must have got the wrong guy. And you did. Turns out it wasn't about me, it was about Ross. And apparently in 2025, we still can't tell Asians apart. I mean, bro, be for real. Do we look alike? We're not even the same breed of Asian. Anyway, so thanks to my newfound haters about Ross, and apparently in 2025, we still can't tell Asians apart. I mean, bro, be for real. Do we look alike? We're not even the same breed of Asian. Anyway, so thanks to my newfound haters, I found out about this issue and I decided to do some digging because I'm nosy. So I just followed the scent of the tea. And here we are. Now in this video, I want to address the two main issues, which number one is AI usage, number two is not paying somebody who works for you. If you guys have been following me for any amount of time, you probably would have heard me say at some point that Ross was one of my biggest inspirations and one of my art heroes at the very start of my YouTube/social media journey. He inspired me and showed me the possibility not only of art, but also of the career path that you could take in art. His energy was contagious and I loved seeing another Asian dude just being on the top of his game. I was like, that could be me. Today I would consider myself and Ross to be acquaintances. We don't talk, but we do know each other. And the one time that we did actually interact was at Lightbox Expo 2022. We had some great conversations that weekend. We ran a panel together, which was a fantastic time. He even took Ethan Becker, Ergo Josh, a couple of his employees, as well as myself out to dinner afterwards, all of which he paid for because we were guests in his city. And at one point I remember I tried to buy something from his store from one of his employees and bro just like spawns in out of nowhere and just refuses my money. So my personal experience with Ross is he's a very kind person and he has been nothing but kind to me. Throughout all of my interactions with him, I have had no reason to think otherwise. I really like the guy from the time that we spent together and I mean it when I say that I wish him all the best and I don't have any bad blood towards him. He has been a huge inspiration to not only myself, but a lot of other art babies in the community, which is why we got to address the issues that we're going to address today. Now, here's a quick summary of the situation. So there's a guy named Fen who used to work for Ross. Fen helped Ross at conventions and they sort of seemed like they were friends because Ross would always go to Fen for advice. And Fen recently came out with a 20-page Google Doc expose on Ross and the problematic things that he thinks Ross does. So obviously, anytime you take dirty laundry onto the internet, it gets messy. As you would expect, this basically started a whole hate campaign against Ross. Ross has been posting about his new pet recently and a lot of people in the comments are clearly not very happy with the guy. And I think it's hilarious how I got caught in the crossfire. That's just my luck, man. Sam does death by friendly fire. Now I've gone through every single page, every single sentence, every word, every punctuation in this document. And the two main issues are AI and not paying your employees. Now the first one that I want to talk about is the AI problem. Now let's pull this up. So Fen says this is a more serious accusation and it absolutely is. Ross is working on a new project right now, which is just another art book, and I can't in good conscience recommend anyone to buy it. That's because all of this is AI, including his Instagram profile picture. He has shown to me and admitted to me in person that he has used AI for this, and Fen claims that he's well aware that some of these images aren't released yet to the public, but the ones that will be released will have been painted over to hide any traces of AI. Now, if this were true, that would genuinely be quite problematic. Fen says, I know any proof I have around this is sparse because he's very intentional with when and how he shares his images, and he's attached this painting that Ross has done along with the draft painting Now, his claim here is that the leg armor in the draft painting is strangely formed, is asymmetrical to the other leg armor, and has more detail than the final piece, which he alleges that Ross painted over to hide his AI usage in the draft process. Now, obviously, just by looking at these pieces, we cannot definitively claim that these are made by AI. We've gotten to a point where there's simply no way to tell. So some of these images don't actually set off my AI radar, but one that really does is this picture of the boy, like how the sweater kind of curves in and cuts into the silhouette of the shorts, even though it's supposed to be behind the shorts. That's a classic thing you might expect an AI to do. The bottom of the trunk of the shorts just don't really make much sense. Like, is that supposed to be a shadow? Is that supposed to be the other side of the shorts? And there's also strange artifacts here that looks like the color of the skin of the leg that's kind of bleeding into the top of the shorts. And honestly, Ross is a great artist. He's great at what he does, and I don't think this is like the kind of mistakes or the marks that Ross would make in a painting. But hey, again, just like the rest of you guys, I have no way to know for sure. Now, what we do know is Ross has made a statement on this topic addressing his AI usage. I'm going to link that down below along with the Google Doc. Ross says, out of the 600 plus published pieces of art I've created over the past 16 years, 5 have had some AI influence. I now recognize that I should have been more thoughtful and aware of the broader conversations around the subject. He then goes on to say, for my most recent book project, I briefly explored AI in the concept phase, but I made the clear decision to remove it to ensure the final work is entirely my own. This book is a reflection of my artistic vision, and I want to reassure you there is no AI in it. Now, you know what? I'll take his word for it. So obviously that statement is going to lend some credibility to what Fenn had to say about the AI usage issue. Now, here are my thoughts on this. You guys by now probably know how I feel about AI, and just in case you don't, let me put it real clear and concise for you. I don't with it. Now, you guys may believe what you will, but for me, I think generative AI is the epitome of the devaluation of art, of trying to cut costs, trying to cut human labor, trying to cut money that goes to artists, and it really just cheapens art and sees it as a means to an end as opposed to an entire creative process and human expression. The way that it's going right now, I really don't believe that it's technology that's here to help the everyday artist. It's actually gearing itself towards helping people who already have a lot of money keep more of their money instead of having to pay that money to hardworking artists. It's like the most dystopian take on art. And now, having heard all of that, you guys probably think I'm all for canceling AI art and just banishing anybody who uses it from the art community. But I'm actually not for that. I actually really don't believe that we should cancel people and belittle them for using AI as a part of their process. Now, in this specific case with Ross, I feel like Ross not disclosing his use of AI in some of his work is a huge mistake. I think we can all agree that transparency is very important on this topic. Like, yeah, personally, I will be disappointed if I find out you use AI in your work process and it's not something that I agree with. But guess what's going to disappoint me even more? Finding out that you used it and actually tried to hide it. And that kind of brings me back to the reason that I speak out against canceling artists simply because they use AI. Because guess what? The more fear of backlash that we create around this topic of using AI in your workflow, the less transparency we'll get. There's less incentive for someone to come out and say, yes, I did use AI and admit to doing it. Because in this case, everyone who uses AI is going to be running scared. They're going to be looking over their shoulders to see if there's like a hate mob on the internet coming after them. And if you want that, if you support the harassment, you support the hate mobs, I'm sorry, but you got to do some thinking. You got to like look in the mirror and look long and hard at yourself, bro. Now, my belief on this is, we all work differently. We all have our own process. If someone wants to try AI, there's no one who can stop them. They have free will. But for people like us who don't really support AI, I think if there's someone around you who is using AI as a part of their work process, we could try instead to encourage them, right? To provide resources where they can learn how to actually do it, how to actually pick up the skill. Maybe we can share with these artists, the way that we personally learn a certain subject, the things that we found difficult and the things to look out for. Give them some access to resources, guide them a little bit, encourage instead of intimidate. My fear is I feel like a lot of people might turn to AI because they feel incompetent. They feel like their skill is not up to par. They lack the confidence to make what they want to make. They might fall into the trap of thinking AI is going to generate cooler ideas than I can ever do, and it's going to make more art even faster. So I really fear that some people might be using it out of a lack of confidence in themselves and their ability to learn this skill, which is why, again, I say to encourage people to help people. Another problem that I see is that a lot of younger people are growing up with this brain rot of instant gratification all around them. And guess what AI provides? Instant gratification. You can't draw this thing, well, you don't have to spend years to learn it. Just generate an image, it's going to look perfect. And I, for one, as somebody who loves making art, who loves learning about art, I don't want young artists, little art babies, to come out and just fall into this trap of instant gratification instead of finding the joy in putting in the work, learning the skill, suffering a little bit through the process, but getting that delayed gratification and knowing what it feels like to have a passion for something. Again, that's why I say instead of using fear campaigns and harassment, instead of trying to alienate people, let's bring them in. Let's encourage people and help people out, okay? Now, in Ross's case, obviously Ross is not an incompetent artist. He is anything but a young, budding, new art baby. But here's the thing, okay? And take my word with a grain of salt because I'm not here to speak for Ross. But I think in this case, you know, the most likely scenario is that Ross has just no ability to cope with the amount of workload that has to go into this art book. And being somebody who's very high achieving, he probably wants, you know, incredibly beautiful finished pieces all throughout the book, and he wants to finish it within a certain time frame. And perhaps in that scenario, you set impossible standards for yourself in your head that you just cannot meet. And within that mindset, under those circumstances, I can see why somebody like him would turn to AI. And of course, that's not to say it's right, and this is definitely not something you should be hiding. Ross, as somebody who has been a fan of your work and has found inspiration in your work for a very long time, I think I can speak for a lot of your audience when I say that we would rather see a 2-minute rough sketch that's loose, that's expressive, than a beautiful, fleshed out, fully finished, and perfect looking AI paint over. Because the former is so much more authentically you. That's your style, that's your expression. Look, I don't know if you're misguided in thinking that you just don't have enough time or energy to make the book good enough, but listen, as long as this is your art, your creation, and everything is made by you and authentically you, dude, I don't think anyone's gonna complain. I think that's more than good enough for all of us. If you want to just do a whole bunch of sketches and rough drafts and just throw it in there, I actually wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be cool to see. Look, at the end of the day, your content is more than good enough. You are more than good enough. You don't need to compensate with this. But of course, like I said before, everyone has free will. And if AI is the path that you want to go down, Ross, I'm not here to stop you. Don't let the fear of backlash stop you. Just, again, be authentic, be transparent, just be upfront about it. You know, and I'm sure it'll be fine. And guess what, guys? We're only halfway there. Just before we dive into the next issue of not paying your employees, I want to end off this AI talk with a thought. This whole AI thing, okay, especially when it comes to independent artists. Now, within the industry, obviously, I don't know anything about that. That's beyond my reach. But as an independent artist, I feel like the moment you start using AI in your work, you can't turn that back. I don't know about you guys, but if I found out that somebody I know uses AI in their work, now there's gonna be an annoying little voice in the back of my head every time I see a new piece you post. That's gonna be like, is this piece AI? Did you use AI for this piece? Even if you came out and said, guys, I've stopped using it, no more, part of me is still gonna be like, did he get back on AI? Why does that look kind of... So that's an annoying psychological effect, just something to be aware of. Now let's talk about free labor. Obviously, I was not on the side of people harassing and dogpiling Ross for the use of AI. I don't support that, but this one's kind of hard to defend. Just brace yourselves because this is going to be a hard read. So Ross says, yo, so Redacted messaged me. I thought you were volunteering at Lightbox, which is the main reason why I'm bringing you. Were you expecting compensation for this one? Sorry for miscommunication. I had some volunteers come up. So in this case, Fen says no, he was not expecting compensation, and that was that. Fen says Ross doesn't like to pay people. He will do his best to get volunteers, but if you bring a payment, he's very quick to take it away. He says that he did agree to volunteer for this and had only brought it up in this case because he found out other people have been paid and were getting paid or had their flights reimbursed. And Fen suspects that Ross knows people want to get close to him and will take advantage of that. Now that's obviously subjective. There's no direct proof for it, but again, these screenshots do not make for easy reading. In this second one, Fen seems to be a little bit more fed up with the volunteering thing, and he says, will you house me again, and will you buy my plane ticket? So he's trying to get Ross to reimburse his flight, which I think is more than reasonable. And this reply really just rubs me the wrong way. He says, well, then I can just pay someone here. In this last screenshot, essentially Ross is asking Fen to stay for the entire month of July, and when payment comes up, Ross says you get a whole July vacation. Fen says his rent and utilities is $830, and I feel like if you're gonna keep somebody for a whole month and 2 conventions, that's more than reasonable to ask for. So personally, I'm very dumbfounded by this because I feel like with the amount of money you're able to make at some of these conventions, you should be able to more than comfortably afford to pay at least minimum wage for every single employee who's there. And if for some reason reason the financials don't work out and you're not able to afford all the employees, maybe it's time to just scale it back and not have free volunteers. I'm personally probably going to Lightbox this year in 2025, and I'm going to probably have a booth there. And I've asked a friend if he'd be down to help me out. Now, I cannot imagine telling bro that he's got to pay for his own flight, pay for his own hotel, and work for me for free for an entire weekend. Like, at that point, do I own bro? I'd feel kind of shitty about myself. I feel like in situations like this, where someone's coming out to help you make money. That's the key thing here. It's not like we're running a charity or a nonprofit organization. We do make money at conventions. If somebody's helping you do that, they do deserve a part of that income. And at least they deserve to not have to pay out of pocket to fly there to help you. I feel like this is basic common sense. So to be fair, we haven't heard Ross's side of the story, and it's impossible to jump to conclusions without hearing at least both sides and making a judgment for yourself. Now, for the little art babies who are watching this video, if you're ever presented with opportunities like this, you have to be very careful and just be aware of the power dynamics that are at play. In some cases, big companies or individuals with a lot of clout are going to try to use that clout to pay you in exposure. And anytime somebody wants to pay you in compensation that is not monetary, it's a little bit of a red flag. So my advice for you guys is, if you find yourself in a similar situation here to Fen, know your boundaries, and you have to trust your guts. If you feel like something is wrong here, go talk to somebody. Go talk to your friend, go talk to a family member that you trust. Tell your side of the story and ask people if the situation is normal. Sometimes you genuinely need an outside pair of eyes. Sometimes it's like a toxic relationship. You don't realize you're in one when you're in it, but when somebody's looking at it from the outside, they can see it clear as day. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you're a little bit unhappy, you're bottling up some of your feelings, you have to communicate, negotiate, talk clearly to the person on the other side of the table. If the other party is negotiating with you in good faith, they should be willing to hear you out and potentially meet you halfway. But if you find yourself in a situation where they're threatening to take the opportunity away from you and say that they have other people who are willing to do it for free, that's a huge red flag. And if you've ever lost any opportunities because of that, don't feel bad about it, because you might have just dodged a bullet, and you might have just dodged a whole mess of a Google Doc like this. This whole situation does not reflect well, not only on Ross, but also on Fen. Both parties look terrible here. You guys do not want to find yourself in a situation like this. Now, what I think is problematic, obviously, number one is Ross not wanting to pay people, but the second thing is Fen seems to be communicating to Ross about his need for compensation in a way that comes off as a joke. But this stuff is not a joke, and you shouldn't be like that. Even if you're talking to your friend, you shouldn't be mentioning it as a joke. I've worked with some of my friends on compensation in a way that comes off as a joke, but this stuff is not a joke, and you shouldn't be like that. Even if you're talking to your friend, you shouldn't be mentioning it as a joke.
Welcome to Camping with Steve. just leaving the car here in a parking lot because we got a pretty good stealther today. I've really scaled the gear back. I've got some different stuff that's a lot smaller because I tried to do a stealth camp last time and this backpack was like the most humongous thing that's ever existed. So we're in this urban area of Edmonton. It's got a greater metro population of, you know, around 1 million people. And there's so many wooded areas like this right behind me. So you can see what's going to happen here. This place we're going to tonight used to be a campground up until fairly recently. It's been abandoned because they built a bunch of subdivisions all around it with really nice homes, and that is not coincident with campgrounds right in their backyard. So it's turned into kind of a city park instead of a campground, but we're using this campground again tonight. There is still kind of a mix of the campground that used to be here. There's actually some signs that say what the site numbers were.
So can't any of you guys just get it together?
It looks like there's an old water.
Okay, not as constructive.
It should be fairly level. It should be one of the old campsites, but it's all.
Ideas you have, talk about it, anything you find useful, takeaways from the day. So that's really kind of the underarching idea behind the day. Basically,
I found a pretty good spot. It's a little close to the trail, but that's okay because I got the camo netting and everything. But it's stinking hot. The heat warmer is back on, and it's about 32 Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit here. And there's no breeze in these woods. So I'm going to get this backpack off and go to the outside, cool off a little bit, and see just how obvious the backpack is even through these woods here. Definitely potential to be seen in there. So I'll string that camo netting up and start to get the shelter set up. Then I'll just kind of abandon it and we'll go walk around, do the rest of the tour of this campground. This is the very first stuff I'm going to put up. It's this. Comes with zip ties. I don't think I'll need them, but you never know. It's this die-cut camo cloth. And it's kind of like the material of like a J-cloth for cleaning. So it's really durable. It doesn't make noise, not much noise. And this will conceal things very well. I got the most appropriate color I could. I have another one for a slightly different season. Somebody chose the fire. It's the prime time hour for hikers and joggers right now. Get this real quick. That gives me a little more stealth here. There's another couple coming down the trail.
So should we go back? What?
Okay, my heart just stopped there. That's exactly what I was always afraid of. It's a dog running up to the campsite. Whew. Now that that's over, the second thing I'm going to do is turn on my Thermacell insect repellent right after I move this leaf out of the way of the camera. There you go, little guy. Okay. We'll get that going, and the heart will start beating again, and everything's going to be all right. My efforts to go lightweight. I've got these smaller butane cylinders. smaller ones. And this model of a Thermacell that screws right onto the butane. I've shown that in a few videos, but in case people are wondering what it is that's driving the bugs away, I know there's sometimes new viewers to the channel that haven't seen the old ones. Thermacell. Get my head out of the way so it'll focus. Yes, they're not a sponsor. It just works, so I don't mind showing the gear that works. Alright, and I can see it lit up through the little viewing hole. And we'll let that gas the area here and make sure not to leave any trace behind, because that's the reason they don't want people camping here. It's been pretty much non-stop with pedestrians and cyclists, so I've just been chilling here. I've got this little dollar store folding tripod chair. They're cheap and it works. So I got a tent footprint I'm gonna put down. I'm just using this little screen tent teepee thing. It folds up really small. This is kind of parts of the new kit that I've got for a little more stealth here during the summer when I don't want to bring the whole kit. Okay, that's not stealthy. Note, Velcro's not your friend for stealth gear, and neither is this neon green stuff. Okay. Oh, thank God it's gray. Okay. Throw this thing in here. It's got the sleeping bag and the shelter in it. This thing I'm using is called the Mosquito Pyramid Net. And never even heard of it before, but I was in the store looking for a screen, and it wasn't even that badly priced, so this fit the bill nicely. I don't know how much this thing's gonna do, but okay. I've had about enough of hiding in the woods here. I'm gonna get out there and have a water and cool off in the breeze if there is any breeze. Oh yeah. Much better, much better. Oh, it feels good to be out of there and get some air movement on me. So the main trail is this thing here. That's the one I came down on, and I am stealth camped right in there. I'm just out here taking a look to see what I can see, because that's what I do. If anybody asks why I'm out with the camera, I'll just tell them I'm trying to film a flying squirrel or something. I don't know, but stealth camp is right in there. There we are. Look at that side, and then on the back, the rest of the stuff. Oh, the roads here are in fantastic shape, and there's the evidence of the old sites right here. You can see an old water hookup, it looks like. I was out here trying to stealth camp this earlier in the spring before there was any leaves out, and it was way too obvious, and that was the week I'd missed. Trying to find somewhere good out here was difficult, and the families just wouldn't leave. Like, people were here looking at the creek, and I'm just trying to stealth camp. But you know, if families are out here and they see a weird guy with a camera, that would produce an issue. We don't like issues. There's another old site here, and nature has began reclaiming it. Well, they planted a few here so that people wouldn't keep camping. But you can see there was water, and actually, they've even still got the old sewage connection hookups. A lot of infrastructure still here. Wow, is it ever nice to not have that huge backpack on. I only look slightly suspicious with the camera. This place is just crawling with people. This bridge here, I'm not sure, but I think it may have been the old entrance into here. When I was scoping it out last time, I came in from the other side, which turned out to be a much longer way to go than what I used today. There's also this road here, and that goes up to the main road. So these could have been both entrances, I'm not sure. It's just a part of history, we'll never know. Well, there's not much left here at all, except for those sewer hookups, those pipes, and it's just some posts that say what site it was. It's still pretty hot. There's a nice creek here. I'm gonna wander down to the creek. I hope it's a little bit cooler down there. And I'm gonna bring something with me. I won't say what. Beer. And we'll have step 2 down there. This is stealth mistake number 1. I built this thing on an existing trail. Don't do that. That's why the dog came in earlier. There we go. As a matter of fact, this entire channel in general is just a cautionary example. Do not look up to me and do not look to me for advice on this. This could be trouble depending on where you live. I don't get it. How are beavers even moving these logs? Are they the size of horses or something? Like, some of these are gigantic. And they're chewing them down and bringing them over. Unreal. Down here by the creek. Is it cooler? Yeah. Is there more mosquitoes? Yeah. But it's okay. Where there's more mosquitoes, there's less people. And I can enjoy a 5 of Diamonds Pilsner by Blind Man Brewing. Doesn't sound very good. Be stealthy as possible with these. I gotta get like twist offs or something. Oh yes. Liquid heaven right in the palm of my hand. Okay. Guzzle this down, and when people are finished their after dinner walks, I'm hoping it's after dinner, must be. That's about 8:44. This is the after dinner hikes for people that are healthy and energetic. And they'll all go back to their homes, watch TV, and I can get down to the business of making burritos in the woods. I was going to cook up at the campsite, except the rich hearty smell of bean and cheese burritos wafting out of the woods is going to draw some attention. And it's pretty dark in there to boot. So out here by the creek, there's a little more light, and there's nobody around, so I can whip up a quick little shore lunch here, shore dinner, and then we'll get into the woods when it's a little bit darker. Got the bag with the food stuff out of the woods. This place is really quieted down. People are scared of the dark, it looks like. Kind of burritos. What I got is this Mexican flavored rice, refried beans, cheese, and tortillas. So I'm gonna cook up the rice, dump in some refried beans and cheese, put it on those tortillas, and chow down, because I'm starting to get a bit hungry. One of these tiny MSR stove things, and that just goes on to, of course, these isobutane cylinders. Not much in there, but it's okay. Just gonna cook up the rice. That's pretty much all we have to do. Cook up the rice, melt the cheese, and we'll be eating in no time. With a setup like this, what could possibly go wrong? Now I did measure out, what was it? 1 cup of rice, so I need 2 cups of water. And this little thing has actual measuring marks on it, so that'll be just fine. 16 ounces of water it is. So at the moment, being in the park right now is completely allowed. I'm allowed to be doing this up until 11 o'clock. And then there's trouble when it comes to 11. I'm not supposed to be in here. Another reason not to cook right by the camp. These things are louder than spit. We'll see how this Mexican rice tastes. I did bring some taco seasoning just in case it's not up to par. Rice is pretty much done. There's still some liquid in there. Let's see if I need the taco seasoning. Oh yeah. It needs a little something. That should do it. So, refried beans and tortillas. Tortillas are always a great thing for this type of stuff because they're they don't go stale very easy and they're pretty impossible to squish. So, I've been struggling over the years to find a decent can opener. This isn't one of them, but it's better than a lot that I've had to deal with. Now I'll just scoop that in. Oh, it's like dog food. Appetizing. Now I know you can open up the other end and then slide it out, but I want as few sharp edges as possible in the pack when I'm bringing it back. Oh boy. It's gonna come in one plop. Oh, that looks rude.
I'm running whatever I come across. If we can get it. The MP5 is apparently really good.
Nearly able to find it.
Hell, I'm gonna have some
Got battle
bean
over the
burritos.
shot connecting chicken.
Ooh.
Down the fadeaway from Patrick Who?
Oh, this
No,
better
not connecting. Not
decongeal in the heat.
Nearly able to find it.
Look at that.
Got battle over the shot connecting chicken.
Ooh.
Down the fadeaway from Patrick Who?
And there's
Just what it
enough
made.
room
And somehow,
to
some
dump in
way.
some cheese too. And
DFM now
first we got
very much on the back foot. Swing on the corner, Alchemy, the last one left standing and not
features,
for long.
blend of pizza, mozzarella, cheddar, and Monterey Jack cheeses with jalapeno peppers.
Encore. Laisse, tu peux aller sur ces.
Of course, it's like 3 pounds of food for me. That's the way I roll.
Vas-y, c'est ton clip.
It's good.
Nice.
Voilà.
This is normally their prime hour,
Nice.
and there's the odd scraggler here or there, but for the most part, much better than far north. Okay. So for what this lacks in presentation, which it does, it actually tastes pretty good, the parts of it I've had. I've cooked enough for Army, as always. That's kind of what happens when you're dealing with a whole can of refried beans. I don't need leftover refried beans rolling around the backpack. So. Tastes just like store-bought. It's good. And a good thing I'm not inside a tent tonight. This is a lot of beans to eat. I'll do my best. Well, that was delicious. Sure hit the spot. I'm gonna pack up and head back to the campsite. That noise, I'm sure, is not for me, but can never be too careful. Just on the way back to the woods where I got that camp and get tucked in for the night. It's getting quite dark out here, and there's no moon to speak of, just a crescent moon. And thankfully, I've got a flashlight, but I got to use that delicately in a stealth situation, of course. So I have to give a huge shout out to the folks that have donated to the cause here. And I think it's a long list today because last week I just kind of had an update on the bus. So I don't like to do shout outs when it's not like a full good video. So there's nobody around. Looks pretty okay to use the flashlight kind of covered up. I know people have suggested to use like a red light, but I'm colorblind, so that really would affect me. I wouldn't be able to see a thing. So the bus is repaired. Good folks at Avenir Mechanical up by Plamondon, around Lac La Biche. He's the fellow I bought the bus from, and he was more than willing to help out. So with buses, one of the tricky things is that not everybody knows how to work on them. It's a pretty specific type of vehicle, and yeah, if anybody's up that way and needs mechanical work done on bus or anything big, I check him out. No, he's not paying me to say that, but okay, here we go. Okay, perfect. It's just the way I left it, so that's awesome. I'm gonna get the sleeping bag set up, and I hope that's not a mosquito. That thing's huge. Oh, I can see the steam coming off of like my hand and my body. It is. It's been a hot day, you could say. So yeah, get this off, and thanks again to everybody. Thanks for following along. If you like this sneaky stuff, please subscribe. But there's also other stuff all the time. There's a bunch on the go right now. So, cheers, everybody. So, of course, it's just started to rain. I looked at the radar, and we could have an interesting night. But there's some gear here that I picked up today. And I'll show you in more detail in another video. But I felt actually bad spending serious money on gear because I normally really don't. And I've been stealth camping with like the bottom of the barrel stuff for quite a while, but it's just so big to put in the backpack. And if I'm going to be seriously getting some stealth camping done, I got to have some lighter stuff and smaller stuff. Anyhow, so Thermarest Neo Air Uber Light, and that will be the sleeping pad, and it literally fits in like this, the size of a hot dog or something. And I have no idea how durable any of this stuff is. I just don't know. But of course it comes with an inflation bag. I did not know that. Otherwise I wouldn't have bought this little electric motor that will inflate it. It'll take a while to inflate this, but we'll see if it even works, if I'm doing it right. Oh, okay, here we go. That worked out pretty good. The major reason I got this thing is it can deflate it too, and that's always a real hassle in the morning trying to deflate these things, get out of here before the constabulary comes through. Stuff this inside of here, that way it won't roll around on me underneath the sleeping bag. Okay. So this complete sleeping system, seeping system, right under there. I'll grab a few twigs here and try to stake this in a little bit. The rain is beginning, and my stealth thing is kind of blowing around, but the tent, yeah, I can see water beads in there already. We have to do some drastic action here. and trying to remain stealthy makes it all the more of a challenge. I don't care if I get wet, it was a hot day. This will be downright relaxing and refreshing. Big way. Good morning. I think that was a pretty successful mission. Cost me. Read this suction down pretty good. This will require a little more investigation. I can see the concept of it is pretty good, but it does need to be staked down at the edges for sure. But I didn't get bitten by mosquitoes, so it's a pretty good success there. So I'm gonna start packing this up, and we're gonna get out of here. Let's fast forward through time as I put this all away. Perfect, all packed up. Let's roll. Oh. It's not mine, but I'll throw it out. There's not even any garbage cans around here. Wow. Okay, well, we are out of the woods, so to speak. And yeah, that's all there is to it. There. That would actually be pretty obvious without the without that camouflage tarp. So that was a great success. That is how you get some stealth camping done. It is getting pretty smoky around here due to these wildfires all over the place. So wouldn't want to be doing any major hikes right now or anything physically exerting, so that's a good thing we're stealth camping. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Just packing up, and yep, we got about 8 more to do in the area here over the next short little while, and they're all planned up and all ready to go. So until next time, you've been camping with Steve. Hey everybody, welcome to Camping with Steve. I'm just getting dropped off here on the side of the road by one of those highway scale commercial vehicle inspection stations, and there's a nice little spot up here that I can hide in. Okay, I got across that road just in the nick of time because there's a lot of traffic. The scale is open today, so there are people working there, peace officers. And yeah, just like that, got in and out of the way. Perfect. Riskiest part is over. And in through here, it's a little interchange median area. And from here I can see the inspection scale. Nice big open clearing in here, but I'm not setting up in a clearing. There's tire tracks here. Some people come up here probably to do landscaping, maintenance, etc. So I'm gonna get out of the way here, tuck myself into these trees. Oh, litter bugs. People have been up here. I'm gonna grab that, tuck it away so I bring it on my way out of here. Is it right there? All right. This looks good, actually. The clearing is right behind us there, and the inspection station's right over there. We're gonna go up a little closer in a bit once I've got settled here. This is a really good spot. As long as nobody walks along there, we're gonna be safe. And it's probably gonna snow tonight, so I'm not expecting too many people walking past. First thing to address though, these are Himalayan blackberries. They're invasive and they're growing in here. And they're very sharp. Exactly what'll put your eye out. Even this dead vine over here is still very, very sharp. So all of these, you can see it'll snag your clothing in no time. So you can imagine what it'll do to your skin or your eyes. So I'm gonna tuck all these vines out of the way, so in the dark, you're not gonna pose a problem to me. Should brought gloves, but wasn't expecting this. It's a big one there. Before we set up, I'm just gonna crawl up to the front here, and I'm staying low today just because of all these Himalayan blackberries. I moved all the ones I could see that should pose a problem, but you never know. So just crawl through here. So they got their little shack there and a bunch of enforcement vehicles. And I got my home right here for the night. This looks good. This looks good. Got a couple hours of daylight left and I'll explore because there's a bunch of really good spots. But this one I like because it's got a front row seat to the show. This spot here is definitely further away. And it looks like people bring their off-road vehicles up here sometimes, and typically the people doing donuts in their off-road vehicles don't care about me. So many cool spots here. Like, I could set up a normal tent right in here. As long as nobody hiked through, I'd be just fine. Some of these trees look a little sickly. I think that one's done for. What's in the kit? It's always the question. For today's mission, I've got, first and foremost, I'll pull this out, bear spray, because this is bear country. All year long, they don't seem to hibernate here. Got my flashlight, this is just a LED thing. Runs on AA batteries. Or GoPro for a nighttime time lapse. Got my external battery pack so I can keep everything charged up that I need to, along with associated cables, extra battery for the main camera. In case it rains or snows, I was going to bring a tarp, but with all the trees in here, I figured an umbrella would probably work if I can just, you know, put it above me, using a tent tonight. It's like a one-person bivvy type thing, made by Gear Top. They're not sponsored, but it's a pretty good tent, except the camo is questionable. It's not a realistic looking camo. A tripod, sitting chair, a sleeping mat. I didn't know the ground would be this soft. Water. Fuel for the stove, the isobutane mix, part of the meal. I brought broccoli, collapsing pot,